This bill do now pass. As many of their opinion will say content, the contrary not content, the contents have it. My Lords, before we begin the British Sign Language Bill, I would like to point out that a British Sign Language interpretation of proceedings is available to watch on parliamentlive.tv and on screens in the Chamber. British Sign Language Bill, Lord Holmes of Richmond.
My Lords, I beg to move that this bill be now read a third time.
This bill be now read a third time. As many as are of that opinion will say content. The contrary not content. The contents have it.
My Lords, I beg to move that this bill do now pass. As we had at second reading, a first in your Lordship's House, where proceedings were signed for the first time, as the Lord Speaker has pointed out this afternoon, another first for your Lordship's House, where signing is available for the benefit of members and all in the Chamber this afternoon. The British Sign Language Bill takes a ministerial commitment in a statement in 2003 and puts it on a statutory basis. That is to recognise British Sign Language as a language in England, Scotland and Wales, enabling, empowering, including. But what does this mean in practice? Take, for example, a hospital appointment. The news may be good, it may not, but whether good or bad, it will always be personal, perhaps the most personal interaction that we have with the state. As a result of this bill, BSL signers will be able to have such appointments and all communications with the state in an inclusive manner, rather than having to rely on parents, spouses, siblings or children to communicate such news. I pay particular thanks to Rosie Cooper MP, who perfectly piloted this bill through the Commons, and she joins us at the bar of your Lordship's House today. I thank the ministerial team, my right honourable friend Chloe Smith in another place, and Baronesses Stedman Scott and Scott in your Lordship's House. I pay tribute to the bill team and all of the officials at DWP who have worked tirelessly to get the bill to this stage. Finally, and perhaps most importantly, I pay tribute to all those individuals and organisations who have campaigned for this change for so many years. The BDA, the RNID, David Buxton, a man who has done as much as most in this area and who rightly joins us in the gallery of your Lordship's House for this historic moment. My Lords, the British Sign Language Bill, enabling, empowering, including BSL signers, benefiting us all.
Lords, this is a historic day for the deaf community who have campaigned for very many years for the recognition of their language. But it's also our language. The clue is in the title. It's British Sign Language. It is the language of the deaf community of Scotland, Wales and England. And it is the means by which the deaf community integrate with the hearing community and exchange. This bill is not the end, it's the beginning of the deaf community's ability to take their rights forward, to use their language and to develop it as a means of advancing their whole life's quality across the range. And I urge deaf people to take advantage of the law, to demand their rights, to ensure we get more interpreters in more situations, enabling them to communicate in every way possible, personally, privately, commercially, professionally, and as Lord Holmes has said, in education, in health, in all the spheres which we all take as hearing people for granted. David Buxton is in the gallery with other representatives of the deaf community, and Rosie Cooper is here at the bar. And all of these people have worked so hard to make this day a historic start for the deaf community. It's a beginning, not an end, and deaf people will take advantage of it. I urge them to do so.
My Lords, I too pay tribute to all involved in the bill, especially my own friend Rosie Cooper, who not only steered this bill through another place, but built such wonderful cross-party support that we've ended up being here today. And also the noble Lord Holmes, who did a fine job of carrying it forward through this House. I thank him for his work and commend him for it too. And it is such a privilege to know that finally the words we say here are being interpreted for BSL users at home. And so I would just like to thank and congratulate all those BSL users who have campaigned to get to this point today, and to congratulate them on that work and to encourage them to keep up the pressure. I was sorry to miss the earlier stages of this bill, also due to COVID, but I was very grateful to my noble friend Lady Merrin, who did such a great job at the dispatch box that I wasn't missed in the slightest, and indeed there were no calls for me to return. But also to Milton Brown from our Opposition Whip's office, who worked very hard on this bill, and the other DWP bill which concluded today. My Lords, I was very moved by the stories told during the passage of this bill, of gifted BSL users denied opportunities, and as the noble Lord Holmes said, of children having to interpret for their parents in situations in which they should never have been exposed, simply because they couldn't get the interpreters which they should have had a right to. I would hope that as at home people watch it and here in the gallery, that they will, as this bill goes through, have the confidence it's one more step in making our country a better place for BSL users and their families. We are very pleased to support this bill.
My Lords, it is indeed an historic day for our deaf community. I thank all noble lords who have participated in the passage of this bill through our Lordship's House, but I also want to say thank you to Baroness Stedman-Scott, who at second reading set out a range of support that government will provide to ensure that commitments in this bill are taken forward. But may I particularly congratulate my noble friend Lord Holmes for leading this bill. His plea for haste and a smooth passage for the bill was sincere in its purpose to recognise British Sign Language in statute without delay. He has brought together noble lords from across the House in our united support for this important issue. I know he has consulted closely with noble lords who have had a long-standing passion to promote British Sign Language and support deaf signers. And I am so pleased that he and all noble lords who have spoken in support of this bill have succeeded. By passing this bill, we will start to remove some of the barriers to deaf BSL signers, increase participation in work, education, culture, and in wider society. By increasing their participation, my lords, the richer and more inclusive all our lives will be. I extend my congratulations to the member for West Lancashire in the other place who introduced this bill, and to all those involved in the BSL Act Now campaign who have campaigned tirelessly for this important piece of legislation, many of whom I know have joined us today to witness what I sincerely hope will be a historic moment for deaf communities and for every citizen in England, Scotland and Wales. The government is committed to supporting all people with a disability, including deaf people, to lead fulfilled and independent lives. Supporting this bill is the best part of that effort, and I'm delighted that we have all played our part today.
As Lord Speaker, can I welcome the BSL organisation and members today and congratulate them, as well as fellow parliamentarians who have steered this historic bill to its successful conclusion. So, for me, the question is that this bill do now pass. As many as of that opinion will say content. The contrary not content. The contents have it. Consideration of comments, amendments and reason. Okay. I will tolerate that disturbance. Consideration of Commons amendments and reasons on the Judicial Review in Courts Bill, Lord Stewart of Dirleton.